So the Steam Deck is finally getting out to more eager customers, and with Valve announcing increased production. You can place an order and get a Steam Deck later this year, way shorter than the year I waited to get mine. I've had my Steam Deck for a month now, and I've been putting it through its paces. And while early reviews called Steam Deck a little rough around the edges after applying the latest updates, my Steam Deck experience was great out of the box. The Steam Deck is a surprisingly versatile console. It can be used as a desktop computer. And you can even connect it to a TV for a couch-based console experience. However, doing either of these things requires a USB hub or a third-party dock. Both of these options can run you a small chunk of change. With JSO releasing a Steam Deck dock alternative for around $50, you can even install Windows on it. Emulators can tinker with it in many ways that closed-off consoles like the Nintendo Switch doesn't allow without having to look up guides online and hoping it works out. And while the Steam Deck doesn't have the docking capabilities of the Nintendo Switch, and I find myself constantly wishing you could just drop the Steam Deck into a dock and play on a TV, it's easily my favorite handheld I've ever owned. My main concern with the Steam Deck was the amount of fiddling I'd have to do to get the games I want to play to work. The older I get, the less I want to mess with settings to get games to work. And while there's an amount of fuss you have to spend on some games to get them to work, a surprisingly large number of the games in my library work with no issues. In fact, about 30% of my 2,500 plus game library was Steam Deck certified, and over half worked, but with a tiny bit of messing around to be done to get it to function. Even some games that said they were unsupported or support was unknown worked with very little tinkering in some cases. Of course, in others, major glitches and graphical issues happen. Too, there are a ton of little things about the Steam Deck user experience I didn't expect, and really impressed me. For instance, when you're loading into a game, it will let you know what control scheme it has loaded up. You can also easily configure the Steam Deck's controls to suit your needs, or download a community-made control scheme and benefit off of someone else's tinkering. You can also fully program 4 back buttons to anything you'd like, which helped me eliminate my claw grip playing Dark Souls by mapping one of the back buttons to dodge run. The Steam Deck is packed with hardware features, some of which I'll probably never touch. There are gyro controls, which you can use in some first-person shooters to give mouse-like accuracy. There are trackpads under the thumbsticks that emulate mouse controls, and with some sensitivity tweaking I was able to play a first-person shooter with them. However, I found myself preferring the thumbsticks over the trackpads or gyro. As good as the touchpads are, I find myself avoiding their use altogether. It would take me some serious practice to get proficient at them, and I'd rather just stick to playing the games that require them on my desktop with a mouse and keyboard.